Mayhem Evolve opted for attack first to start that one, so if they want any chance of survival, they have to win their map pick over Reven and do it pretty damn decisively. It'll be Mayhem Evolve and Reven for our first game of Latin America tonight. I'm out of here. You guys have fun.
Thanks, Jacob. Kick this one off with our bands getting right on into Chalet, which again, as we've already talked about, has a pretty interesting storyline behind it because Mayhem, they chose this map. They have proven that they are willing to go to a map that they got trounced on last time, which is showing that one, maybe they just hope that the same strategy works against Reven, but more likely that they've worked on that on their Chalet. They've realized their mistakes. They've gone back to the drawing board and fixed it. So here, trying to redeem themselves on a map that's given them a little bit of difficulty in the past.
Starting out with the operator bans as well, we have Mayhem instantly removing Ying, who has been banned quite a lot this stage as a whole, not even just one specific region, just in general, she's been banned quite a substantial amount. Moving on the side of Reven as well, opting to get rid of Flores and Azami as well makes a bit of sense, especially Azami, since that's been more of a comfort ban for them throughout this entire first stage, and then evening things out as well with a nice Valkyrie ban. She is really strong in any situation. She's one of the best info ops in the game. So for the map of Chalet and the two teams that we have playing for this best of three, the bans make a lot of sense. And the starting bomb site for Mayhem as well is also pretty reasonable, since I believe this is one of the only bomb sites they actually won the last time they brought it out.
It's funny you mentioned that because this is not a bomb site that we see all the time, right? The beauty of Chalet, and I think this is one characteristic that makes this map, I won't say unique, but one of the few in the entire competitive map pool to do this. Almost every single site is viable, and we see them all get played on differing rotations. Master and Office is solid, but so is Kitchen and Dining. You're going to see Bar and Games almost every time, but a lot of teams, they aren't afraid to bring out Garage Wine Cellar either. So this map brings a little bit of everything, but like you said, John, looking specifically at this Mayhem roster, good to see them go to a site that maybe is a little bit more comfortable for them. Looking at this operator selection, the exact lineup that they're bringing in to conquer this beast, I'm focused here on the Solisk. A Solus, that's what Hosk is bringing out. I combined Hosk and Solus there. But looking at this operator and looking at this bomb site in particular, right? So much power, so much soft destruction that operator can bring, and you do that from below. You maintain that position in Kitchen and Dining. That can be a great way to prevent Reven from getting the bomb down at all.
I was actually wrong about this site being won by Mayhem. Every single time it was in play on each half, they actually lost it. So I'm really shocked they decided to bring this out. But like you mentioned, Jonah, it's still some place where you can get away with a lot of roaming in that first floor and basement one as well, which is why Reven are opting to put a little bit of force into this basement, just so they're not going to have to worry about any kind of flanks last second and maybe getting away with some sort of early entry engagement. And there it is. Joe across the map, not in the basement floor, but all the way up on the second floor, actually catches Infame off guard. And with that presence of the roamers underneath, maybe you could see a little bit more attention actually brought into the site and maybe beating Mayhem in that so-called race to set up this execute.
Yeah, tough for Infamy there to lose his life right off the bat. The Jaeger won't be able to make an impact going further into this round. Oh, but Navi's will, picking up a kill, but followed quickly by Reven as they clap back with two of their own. It's now up to Wolves and up to M-King here to make something happen. The smoke spots out the Gemini and will remove that from play, but with a minute 15 remaining, Reven, they've got so many options of how they want to approach this. Only one more Toxic Babe in the smoke's pocket, and you've got a C4, but it's still going to be very difficult to hold this one down. Reven doing a good job of slowing down the pace here, making sure they've got all the information they need before eventually walking in. As soon as Joe gets the call that he can walk straight through that rotate, that is exactly what he'll do. We caught both of the kills there in the end round cam. He takes care of the smoke, he takes care of the Kaid. The rest is history. Round one, the way of Reven Esports.
Solid start, especially for Joe as well. Spring up with 4 kills in the first round. Little unheard of, but just right place at the right time, it seemed. And a lot of info as well. That's also something that Reven have been slowly improving on, is their drone economy. I remember watching them back against Malvinas, especially on Oregon. They would be ending rounds with 2, 1, or maybe just 0 drones left at their disposal to either watch for flanks or gather any last-second info before hitting that go button into the bomb site. And Reven, in that last few moments of the round, they had between 5 and 4, and Joe was still alive as Iana. They knew exactly what they were getting themselves into, which is probably a heavy reason as to why Joe was so successful in the frag department. He was anticipating some of those engagements he was taking, allowing them to be a little more lopsided towards the attacker's favor, which is pretty uncommon, besides maybe on this map, since Chalet can lead a little more attacker favored still.
Yeah, map that can be pretty aggressive at times, but as we've talked about, John can also see a good bit of utility play, especially in some certain power positions like you might see on this site in particular. When we think about Baron Games down below, we honestly think just as much about the top floor and the vital hold that the defense usually brings in that library position. Up above in library, that's where we're going to see a defensive setup, and really often the round decided in those early fights. Is Hask going to survive for the late round? Are those mirror windows going to provide enough coverage and enough information for him? That's the question. Is there going to be support for one of his teammates to make something happen up above? That is what Reven will need to get their bearings on very quickly. Right now, it seems they're not going to go directly up above into library, instead working their way at the start of this round over into master and office, clearing their way through. But an important part of that clear is actually knowing where you're walking into, having some information. That's a big problem here for Reven, because they've already lost 2 bodies, one to a mist drone, and the other, not exactly sure why we just lost Runner there, but 2 kills for Maycamp to start us off.
And even Draw trying to get aggressive by Mudroom, it's going to be a little challenging to do that because that barricade has been put down in the Mud single door, so his intentions will be well known by Maycam if he tries to pull that trigger. And Wrath as well, looking to pick up the pieces as to where Joe left off over by Piano. It's going to be a very challenging position to fight back from because of those mirror windows and all that utility still bundled up, unless Sam could potentially provide a bit of assistance, but they also are aware that Sam's walking up Fireplace.
Trying to maybe catch somebody off guard here. He was able to walk in to main lobby unscathed, and now he may just walk into the site. Predictable, I think, for the smoke. He's gonna know this is coming, but he still gets lit up just a bit. Navi's, wait a minute, he's right on the other side of this door, so Sam has to be incredibly careful here. He gets a call out, so he'll look that way, but he cannot get every single angle covered at once. That's 2 more kills for Maycam. Draw, the last player remaining, picks up 2 more in response. That's not going to really matter. 1v3 now. Hask will escape with his life as he slinks back towards bar stock, and nice little long-range shot there to finish off the round for Maycam. No doubt, though, that they were going to take that one. 2 opening kills, and they just kept on applying that pressure. Nothing that Reven could do.
And the 2 operators that were eliminated off the rip for Reven were Joe and your Ash player of Runner as well. So you had basically no soft destruction to remove those deployable shields at the top of blue stairs. You didn't have anything to create as much space as you would normally to push people off the mirror windows as well, which, funny enough, with there being no ranged hard breach in that round, it was very unlikely that you would have anyone successfully get rid of those mirror windows unless you had someone rotating across the map over into library, and that would probably be the job of the Capitao, just to throw down a firebolt inside of box and make someone drop down that hatch, for example. But again, with 2 people already being dropped in the first minute of the round, Reven were very, very lax in terms of what they could end up doing by trying to rotate across the map, no matter how well they could work things out in terms of coordination, because they were just already down 2 players, and again, didn't have a lot of utility to force back the defense.
You're exactly right. I mean, when we saw 2 players drop, that left Reven with limited options, given the amount of utility that we had already highlighted Maycam employing on that top floor. That left Reven with the choice of, all right, are we going to work our way into this extension and just die because we don't have the utility and it's going to take us way too long? Or are we going to just try to sneak into the site and find some surprise kills? It ended up being the latter, of course, because that's what Sam tried to do as the Capitao, just sneaking in, get a couple of kills. And at the end of the day, he was not able to do it. And when a site relies so heavily on that extension, on that top floor control, if you try to go direct and you don't have the man count to do it, That's going to happen almost every single time. So Reven, they look to move on now. Look to remedy some of those information problems they had in the early round, and look at that. Already, right off the bat, Joe will immediately recover from the mistake in that last round, getting the opening kill himself. This one onto Hosk.
And really shocked how aggressive Hosk was playing, just not in any kind of natural cover. You see a drone coming in from that single doorway. You would expect someone to maybe try to play off that info before it dries away, but Joe able to punish Hosk for some of that overextension, will slowly dwindle away at this extension up above, but King, a beautiful shot across the top floor, rings out onto Joe's head, and that presence over by Office has now diminished, but that doesn't mean there is a lack of attackers still on this top floor. You've got Draw over by the highway balcony. He could apply tons of pressure onto both Piano and Bather if need be, and it seems like someone else could be moving their way in through Piano, that being Sam, so there's still a lot of opportunities here for Reven to find trades that have not completely forced out this top floor. And with Draw still alive, if we can see Maycam completely give up that top floor, there's still a load of opportunities for vertical.
Well, Reven lost another body, but as you pointed out, John, they were quick to remedy that. Infamy traded, man count evened out again. A 3v3 for the last minute of this round. Long-range nade here for Draw. That's not going to connect. More than enough time for Navi's to get away. Runner will also be joining this plight up above. They now have the control they need after finally forcing that final defender down the Solarium stairs, so the vertical play will begin.
Ooh, that Nitro, beautifully timed by Wolves. I was looking to see if he still had it actively on the map because it wasn't in his back pocket for inventory, but despite that lovely C4, he gets caught at a bad time through the open hatch by Sam, and things are still even in the final 30 seconds, and with the Thermite alive, breaking these mute jammers, he can still open that back wall and maybe go for a default plant if Runner can cover him.
Yeah, but he's got to get all the way around to the bottom. Get this wall open, only 25 seconds remain. Still a lot of work to do, and not a lot of time to do it. Navi's and King, they're going to know exactly where this pressure is coming from as well. Only really one option for them at this point, but the unlucky timing for Navi's. He drops down, and a perfectly placed crosshair from Runner, but here's the problem. King got the kill on the site, but it doesn't seem to matter. Runner will do it anyway, and in that 2v2, a rotation from the defense ended up costing them despite a strong presence on the site itself.
Yeah, I honestly like that play by Runner because you're expecting with that wall being opened up, there's a high potential of someone flanking either from blue stairs or maybe going all the way into snowmobile stairs to directly have an angle on someone who's planting behind that bomb chassis, especially since Maycam had no utility to deny it. They had no more impact grenades. The only C4 that was available to them was deployed to stop the vertical play from happening by Reven. So with Runner opting to play down below, he's actively cutting off that opportunity to flank from those staircases that are in the basement floor. By stopping that, winning that first gunfight, that gives more room for your Thermite to safely plant the diffuser. And sure, King did kill the Thermite, but Runner still had enough time to also walk up West Main and cause a bit of chaos and narrowly win that 1-for-1. Despite King having that info, he just simply lost that 50-50 gunfight, and now Reven are back in the lead in terms of a man count because of that well-thought-out play by Runner.
Yeah, it was really high-pressure situation to make a choice like that, and it paid off. But, I mean, nearly didn't. Let's keep in mind that he did leave his teammate alone to plant the bomb, and that ended up resulting in the death of his teammate. Like, he wasn't there for the cover, so he potentially risked losing the round. Thankfully, he was there to get the trade, and at the end of the day, no problem, no harm, no foul, but risky. Had Navi's maybe played that a little bit safer, right? Had that last player been able to get that kill onto the attacker and then dip away, could have been a different story. But Reven will take it. They will regain this lead 2-1 now for them. And Maycam will head back to where things began here on Master and Office. Runner again, trying to get a little bit cheeky. Cracks that Solarium window looking for a kill, but instead he finds nothing, and Draw will find his grave. A shot from below, I think. That one onto Draws. He tried to work his way into Library. A good start for Maycam.
All things considered, not a huge loss losing out on Draw. Besides those frag grenades, as there isn't a lot of vertical you could really get down with the bomb site being master, but having so many shields available to Maycam, it's going to be very taxing for both Runner and Joe to try to deal with every single power position that Maycam are looking to have. But speaking of one of those two operators, Joe just walked up West Main, and he might be looking to take a fight on this player who's just now in dining room. Not a single clue that he's in that position, and Joe finds a refrag. A second one tries to contest, and Joe forces him back, looking for another one. He could end up finding another huge opportunity in this round, and he does so with such elegance. A triple kill for Joe. Runner catches one off screen, and all of a sudden, Wolves is left in a 1v4 wondering what just happened to my team.
Joe just tore them apart. Sam will get the finisher, but oh my goodness. A complete turn of events after Reven lose the opening duel. They end up just making it happen by pushing out those defenders down below. Joe, a man on a mission, now 8-3 at the timeout for Maycam going into this 5th round. Out of nowhere, Joe steps it up and makes it happen. So far, he's been involved in the opening engagement 3 times. In the first 3 rounds, we saw him get the opener in the first round, the opening death in the second, the opening kill in the third. That round, it wasn't technically the opening fight because M-King had already found that kill onto draw, but soon after, he was hungry to find that trade. There's no question that Joe is fitting into that role nicely. He's playing that entry game. He is getting into the building so quickly and taking that necessary space.
And the space-making factor is one of the biggest things to look at. Round number 4. Joe, after droning out for a little while, he notices, oh, hey, there's nobody in the basement. There's probably going to be a few defenders over by dining room because that's where Maycam were setting up last time they brought out Master. So I'm going to walk up West Main and get some map control, maybe win a gunfight or two and just catch Maycam off guard. And that is exactly what happened. And it didn't seem like for Maycam that they were all on the same page. You had some defenders who were opting to try to re-aggress, to work a refrag against Joe, and then others, after trying to go for an engagement, falling off. But with everyone not on the same page of trying to retreat and giving up some of that space to Joe, he's able to find 3 separate kills, all 1-for-1. Not a single time did we see, a tag team by Maycam. We didn't see a crossfire being set up or a complete fallback. And because of that small little hiccup by Maycam, that just gives the entire round to Reven because Joe single-handedly wins 3 separate engagements in that first floor.
I do like the timeout now for Maycam. I'm glad that he got a chance to talk things over and figure it out. I like that it's early here on Chalet as well. A lot of teams, you'll save that for much later in the round, usually on the second half. But seeing it now from Maycam makes a lot of sense considering the progression of Chalet last time they played it. It ended up with a 7-2 score line, but it was 2-2 at the very beginning. They started off hot, and while they may have claimed 1 round so far through the first 4 rounds, that may be all they get on this defensive half unless they can remedy things and do it quickly, because already, despite the timeout, despite some time to talk things over, round number 5 will start off the exact same way, with Joe getting in the face of this defense early and getting that opening blood.
One of the main people who we talked about was Hosk, him needing to show up in the entry department to lead the rest of Maycam to victory. And so far, we haven't seen that. The 2 entry engagements Hosk has gotten into have been against Joe, and they have not really gone the way of the defense so far. Once again, Reven starting out on the right foot, but the only thing that could be truly worrisome for Reven right now is this potential flank here by Novi's, but Joe decides it doesn't matter there's a flank brewing up. I'm just going to get aggressive and look for another pick.
Watch it, Navi's from behind. Reven just simply not prepared for that. The equalizer dealt, but Sam still fighting, and once again, sneaking his way into the site. The same thing he did last time, but right now, with the man advantage, Reven are in a much prettier position. Question is, can they find him? Up above, can somebody deny this plant? Looks like we have our answer. Not so much. Reven's got this diffuser down, and Navi's is now the last player standing. Needs to fight his way into a site full of 3 attackers, now turned defenders, and while he can find one, he cannot find the other 2. It is Reven who really just turned up the heat in this Chalet game. It's 3 rounds in a row to result in a 4-1 split so far.
And I hate to sound like a broken record, Jonah, but again, the info, pretty top-notch by Reven so far. Not even discussing, Joe winning those first 2 engagements on the top floor. Sam being able just to walk into bar, that wasn't just from his own, intentions. He didn't want to just walk in blind. He probably had a few drones and realized there's only one person on the bomb site, and Joe is just contesting everybody else up above. So let's just hit the bomb site and force Maycam on a retake, which normally could be very concerning. But from where Sam was planting, he didn't have to worry all too much about vertical. So he had to force Maycam to come back down into the first floor and play for a 3v2 post-plant retake, which is a really tough position to come back from, especially if both of your defenders are isolated and, funny enough, walking in blind as well. They didn't have a lot of info as to where Reven was playing at in that 3v2, which led to their, untimely demise in round number 5. And so far, it seems like this first half side selection here by Reven was the right decision, as Maycam are kind of falling down the same slippery slope, Jonah, that we saw them fall into just last week when they brought out Chalet.
Exactly. A strong start or a decent start, and then all of a sudden, as soon as their opponents get a read on what they're bringing out on attack or defense, they just get steamrolled. And as Reven are continuing to run away with this map, Maycam are in as ever, more desperate need to get another round on the board. Just one more is all they really need to go into their attacking half with a bit more confidence. As we've talked about before, this map can often be attacker-sided a little bit, but sometimes pretty substantially attacker-sided. Like this play from Draw, though, trying to find a bit of an angle here. Gets on top of the car and sledges right below the feet of... I'm not exactly sure who that is hiding out in Trophy, but a dangerous position for the defense at this point.
Almost netted that first opening kill, but it didn't seem like Draw was completely aware someone was underneath him as the flooring was opened up beneath them. But, oh well, at least it didn't end up in an opening death for Reven as well. Still at that even 5-on-5 as Joe once again sitting in his natural habitat of main balcony, looking for that first engagement. It seems to be on Hosk once again, potentially, as he's right along by this doorway of office. He swings out by the desk, and luckily, Joe doesn't fall just yet, but un-ADSing at the worst time. Hosk will punish him for that, and it's still office control for the defense, but seems like I jinxed him, Sam. An immediate trade as they now clear out the Jaeger.
Right, that's the difference, and that's the big difference maker that Reven have continued to rely on so far in this game, and will likely do it for the remainder of this map. It's the trades, it's that coordination. Even if you lose that opening engagement, even if Joe gets in the building and doesn't take as much space as you would like by himself, well, that's what your teammates are for. You use him to suss out the position of those defenders, to get somebody in right behind him, and to get that trade. That's what Sam did in a well-timed kill in that instance that now gives Maycam, or now forces Maycam into a bit more of a precarious position. We're seeing that come to fruition now because M-King has dropped. Wolves is now throwing out this C4 a little preemptively. And unless he finds a kill with it soon, Reven are sitting pretty comfortably, and this has forced Infamy into a pretty aggressive position here in Solarium.
Now forcing himself to fall back just a little bit as well. It seems to be too risky to try to work himself up above. A nice escape here for Navi as he catches Sam off guard. That's diffuser control, but he'll still have to give up that position. It's just too dangerous for him to sit in the same spot now that Reven have info on him. But at least things are now a 3-on-3.
Yeah, things evened up with 15 seconds to go. I'd argue this is now favoring the defense, given that Reven need to get a move on. Oh, the peek there from Wolf, maybe not advisable, but he knows that Reven are getting desperate. Here they come, just blitzing their way on in, but they'll lose 2, make it 3 bodies. Everyone falls as Maycam hold on under that 10-second mark, just locking down the site, refusing to give up an inch in that 3v3. So a dicey early round and some good coordination from Reven that put Maycam into a tough spot. But at the end of the day, it is Maycam who clap back and get themselves at least a more respectable half, 2-4 at the switch.
And luckily with Sam being the person who was on Thermite and who had the diffuser, Reven were forced in that 3v3 to just take raw gunfights there. They didn't have a very favorable position in that 3v3. They still had people playing outside, holding more passive cutoff angles, expecting Sam to, again, have the wall opened up since that mute jammer was removed, get into the bomb site, and put pressure on the defense to try to close that gap and try to get Sam off the defuse. But again, With Novi's, a well-timed play by 45, he kills the Thermite, no one immediately trades him, and now the rest of Reven are forced to enter the building and try to fight back and just go for 50-50 gunfights, which luckily for Maycam, it favored them in that position. So once again, it's a 2-4 split for Maycam on their defensive side, but their attacks on Chalet also have not looked great for them as well. It's still an uphill battle, needless to say, for them.
Yeah, still quite a climb it's going to be for Maycam Evolve for the remainder of this map. Down by 2, not very much at this point, but 2 becomes 3, becomes 4 in the blink of an eye. So they need to stay on top of things. You see Navi's trying to find this long angle through the pixel that Joe is holding right now. This is dastardly. He's all the way back. He'll tap once, but he'll get tapped himself. Really good awareness there from Navi's. I suspect there was a drone somewhere inside main lobby that gave up Joe's positioning. So the aggression from him, it's not going to pay off. And guess what? The aggression from Draw, it's not going to pay off either. Reven have dug themselves into a pretty sizable hole just because they wanted to make a statement on this defensive half. So far, not so good for Reven.
Luckily, Infamy hearing that hop out, is able to get off his drone in time and take that 1v1 in a pretty favorable position. Now, both the Solus and Warden are off the board. 2 pretty stall-worthy operators you can have for this basement floor bomb site. That's going to give a lot more opportunities here for Maycam to have a pretty smooth going execute, as they already worked their way into both Big Garage and West Main to go down that staircase and maybe get a few hard walls opened up. And with there being no smoke on the board as well, in terms of stall potential, it's also really lacking now that both Joe and Draw have fallen away on that roam. But you still have to worry about Sam, who is, oddly enough, not in the bomb side. I think he's still on the top floor, if not the first one, maybe trying to brew up something malicious.
Yeah, with your backs against a wall, he's just trying to find that explosive play to maybe get themselves out of this tough spot. High risk, high reward type plays. Usually at this point, you're going to need them if you want to win this round, because as Maycam continue to build this pressure, it's going to become ever more difficult for Reven to hold them off. Sam gets that kill that we talked about. That will, however, reveal his position, and it will communicate to Maycam that the site is understaffed. They could theoretically get a bit more aggressive and make this move if they want to, and, well, I think here it comes. They'll take these fights, they'll win them both, forcing Sam to rotate back straight into a Claymore. Really good awareness there from Maycam, knowing someone was up above. A nice little pre-placed Claymore on the rotate, and look at that. They take the round.
Kind of the same situation as we saw back in round number 2. Reven not, I wouldn't even say not fully prepared to take some engagements, because clearly in round number 7, you had Joe already holding a very, tight angle, waiting for someone to push in from that double door, and also the run out with info by the Solus. But this time, Maycam were also just as prepared to take those same kind of engagements, being somewhat aware that Reven would like to up the ante after having a very successful first half. It pays dividends, scoring them that 2-man advantage, and it lets the rest of their execute, again, just flow at a very calm rate. They spot out the 2 defenders that are left on the bomb site. They somewhat ignore Sam and just hit the go button, opening up every single wall in the back of line, forcing one defender down into the blue hallway and the other one behind that pillar position, and they are just trapped in their own bomb site. At least making things a little bit closer now for Maycam, but that does not mean Reven don't have, of course, any room to breathe. They still have plenty of viable options to go through in these bomb sites, specifically Bar and Games as a primary suspect for them, since they have this Mira now to their use instead of having to play against it this time.
But a good start for Maycam, there's no question about that.
Yeah.
And now maybe with some more confidence, right? We're gonna see them start to find their form, find this Chalet that they seem to think they've got in the tank, picking this map here again, and that I would love to see from them here in this second Chalet appearance for this team. They're going to try to do it with a bit of an interesting operator selection, showing us the Osa pick right now from Infamy, seeing what they can do with that. Right now, the focus, though, is on Library and on getting in to this top floor. Draw tries to get aggressive, but once he gets spotted out, he will be forced to back on off. So instead, the mirror window will be staffed by the Jaeger, will be staffed by Joe, and Draw has since rotated back into that library position, although a bit more of a forward position than back in the chimney spot.
And MyCam opting to go for a rather interesting attack. They're going to get some garage control down below so they can walk up Fireplace and get the stock position completely cleared out from any defender that could be there from those Selma charges. And starting off with a solid entry kill. Joe so far having a bit of a rough start in this second half as he is once again the opening death. And Maycam now having a lot of positions cleared out from that first floor, at least in the bomb site specifically. They're going to take a few more seconds to gather some info before eventually trying to execute into it. But once again, with stock being cleared out already by that Selma charge, there aren't many options for Reven to play in terms of directly anchoring, which is a huge benefit to them.
Yeah, they're starting to get a bit more uncomfortable, and as a result, a little bit more active. As you said, they can't hold these common positions on the site, so someone like Sam, he's got to get up, start dancing around, and in some cases, like we just saw, finding some kills. He found one, but now he's going to feel the pressure. As the jump in comes, a bear trap comes for the toes of Infamy, and he will fall. Hosk will follow that one up. He'll get in safely, but now he's got to worry about the positioning of Sam. Never mind, as Sam is simply looking the other way, maybe worried about something from behind, but still, this is not all that safe for Maycam. There is still somebody right above you, Haas. You've got to be careful. Someone in bar stock as well. The attack now crumbled. Wolf, the last player that remains. A 2v1. Reven, all they've got to do is play this together. The first swing, a C4. Watch out, Nomad, it's coming. Runner will now stick this defuse, forcing Wolf to now go for this wide swing. But once he does, that Vector, it's going to look right at him. He can't even see the head of the Wamai as that counter defuse is stuck. And Reven will sneak by with that one.
And still having that vertical to work off of as well gave the man advantage for Reven. Sure, they didn't kill the planter, but it was just enough so they had someone available to cover that disable while someone else is trying to, of course, get the diffuser off of play for Maycam. And with their Nomad of Wolves being so low from that Nitro Cell being tossed out, it really forced him to be a little more passive instead of just trying to be as aggressive as he could be once he heard that diffuser being disabled by a Reven. So good heads up trying to punish Maycam for not having a lot of pressure established on that top floor, which bit Maycam in the rear, not specifically stopping them from planting, but just putting them in a very awkward position once that diffuser gets put into play.
I am loving that a major storyline here on Chalet has been the Hosk Joe 1v1 on the entry. I mean, it's actually wild how many times they have been just getting in each other's faces to start off the round. I mean, starting in that first half, it was Joe who really came out on top with 2 entry fights against Hosk and 2 victories. But since we've shifted to Reven on the defense, make him on the attack, it's been the other way around. Hosk onto Joe for 2 separate entry kills as well. So they are 2-2, trading blows with each other here. Curious to see who's going to come out on top for the remainder of this map. Maybe we're going to see Joe try to settle down, get a little bit less aggressive. Maybe the same goes for Hosk, but so far on the attacking side, it's working for this Yana. All Hosk has to do is keep it up, and well, Joe is being put in his place.
Well, starting out now for the dining room bombs, at least Reven are able to score that opening gunfight. Joe not being a third opening death in a row. It's actually across the map there for Draw to eliminate Infamy, who, as the OSA for a dining room bomb site attack, is very valuable. That gives you a lot more room to breathe when trying to execute into the bomb site. Again, having that default plant down by the thermite, but also it can help you hold a couple of cutoff angles up above. Having that Talon shield across the top floor by the mezzanine, looking over into office, can make sure it's very difficult for someone to get that vertical down. But Navi's luckily able to catch Runner off guard as he's trying to flank from the blue staircase, and now the Solus is no longer a threat, which again, if you struggle to clear out this top floor, you don't have to worry about that person getting in for to stop a plant.
Joe onto Hosk. This time it goes the way of Joe in this 1v1. It wasn't the entry engagement, but still a duel between these 2 powerhouses that this time will go the way of Reven. That leaves Joe at 11 kills and leaves him alive for the remainder of round number 9. A spooky, a scary prospect for Maycam to conquer. They're down a man, a 3v4 for them. Minute 20 is plenty of time. But look at the drone counter in the top left of your screen. Only 2 drones remain for this attack. Not a lot of options for information. Who needs information, I guess, if Joe is just going to expose himself. Same goes for Draw. If they're just going to allow you to get these kills, Reven, now they're on the back foot, I guess.
Looking at it from this perspective, Reven, they've got 2 Nitro Cells available to them, and if Raf can win this gunfight against Wolves, that also gives them vertical coverage as well, but he loses that engagement. Now it's only Sam in a 1v3, but still, the saving grace being that Nitro Cell.
Here it comes. Not gonna connect, though. That's devastating, and potentially that right there could lose the round for Sam. He's now gonna watch out for Navi's around the other side, and yeah, that's simply an engagement he cannot win. Had the Nitro Cell connected, would have been a very different story. Would have dropped that diffuser, would have forced the Sledge into an awkward position, having to recover the diffuser and go for the plant, but simply one piece of utility is enough to change the course of the round. That's the beauty of this game, and that's exactly what Maycam will be happy did not transpire in round number 9, so they secure it. 4-5, this gap, only 1 round between them right now.
Reven as well, not having the option to flank because Runner losing his life on the Solus walking down blue stairs also made that execute denial very challenging. And also, like we both mentioned, Jonah, the Nitro Cell missing as well, playing in a 1v3 directly gun up when you have potentially vertical or someone playing on the fireplace stairs and someone by that 45 hallway / door frame is just not a spot you're going to be all too comfortable in. We almost saw that same issue reveal itself as well for Maycam when they were playing in that first floor bomb set as well. But Reven looking to maybe pick up the pace a little bit, trying to re-attempt that bomb site, hoping they can get away with a little bit more tomfoolery perhaps on this roam, as they are once again double downing with a very roam heavy composition. But I can't blame them. Roaming on this map can be oh so effective, especially because again you have that basement floor bomb site to potentially flank in the late round to catch Maycam off guard, especially since info has been a huge issue for them in their attacking half.
It can be. I mean, I totally agree. I think that Roam, it's powerful. Those extensions on Chalet, they can be lethal if employed properly. But the problem is, for Reven, that same mindset is what got them into trouble in that last round. That overactive mindset, that I want to roam and flank and get aggressive mindset. It actually lost Reven the round in round number 9. Obviously, I pointed out the use of that utility in the Nitro Cell that just didn't connect, but why did they feel the need to get so active in that 4v3? They walked into gunfights. They allowed Maycam to find kills even though they didn't have the information they needed to get them. Maycam was limited. That drone count dwindled to just 1 in that final minute. A full minute on the clock, only 1 drone for Maycam to work with, but Reven, they peaked. They got in the face of the attacking team, and in some instances, it's gonna work. Joe on to Infamy there. Peeking is just fine. Infamy had no idea that was coming, but I'd like to see Reven get a little bit more discipline, especially in the second half of these rounds.
Already burned about 1:20 as well. It'd be so tasking for Haas to try to enter in from that solar window repel. It's such a loud sound call. You're mostly playing there just as a cutoff, making sure no one can fall back through that top staircase heading back into trophy room. So for Reven, their options are a little more limited if they want to try to fall off this top floor, but without any real pressure established by Maycam, they aren't really too concerned about giving up that top floor. Again, especially if you see that same kind of execute or even a different one towards kitchen, as long as you have vertical, there's a high chance you can stop that plant.
A 1-for-1 keeps us even. Joe's still alive on that Solus. Less the player, more so the operator that's going to be vital in winning this round for Reven. He's still got those 2 impacts, still a C4 in Runner's pocket. So much explosive utility, and the same cannot be said for this attack. No more nades, only the breaching hammer, the destruction that Navi's has in his pocket. You see that. No, 1-for-1. Maycam, a good trade to stay alive. Wolf circling in from the back. He's been spotted. He walks himself into a crossfire and he can't come out on top. It's just M-King, a mirror window staring right at his position. Such a tough place to be. Maybe he could try to get that diffuser down, but no matter what, there's a Nitro Cell heading your way. There's 2 defenders swinging you and nothing that he could possibly do. Reven take another, and with that, they will move on to match point.
And Maycam just being way too passive. in that last round as well, we didn't really see a lot of attackers enter the building until the final, breaths of that round, where you saw M King forced to rotate across the entire map from that snow position all the way into Fireplace Double Door to get the main wall opened up as a Habana, which is really uncommon. It seemed like for Maychem, they were opting to go for more of a trophy-focused execute into Kitchen and hopefully play off of some of that top floor control if they were able to get it, but that wasn't the case. Infamy was the first opening death, and that's your highway player, who is really difficult to replace when a minute 20 has already been burnt off the timer. With Reven having such a strong impact in the first half of that action phase and still having top floor control, that forced Maychem to completely readjust where they were looking to approach the bomb site from, and it also limited them in terms of how well they could play for trades, because they were low on bodies. What's funny enough, how well Reven were playing trades. You would see one kill go the way of Maychem, and immediately someone who's still roaming shuts down someone else across the map, and now you're still at an even playing field, but everyone is still very much isolated on the attacking side, and they also don't have a lot of angles to really work for against the defensive side as well.
One of Maychem's biggest strengths, it's been the early round. They have been more successful on the entry than Reven have, but the mid to late round, that's been where Reven have thrived. Here's how I'll tell you exactly how this has gone down. Reven, when they've gotten the entry kill, they have won the round every single time. Now, the same cannot be said for Maychem. There are 2 rounds where they've gotten the opening kill and they have not won the round. So that's why Reven are winning, because they are turning disadvantageous situations into the advantage. They are swinging rounds in their favor in that mid to late round phase when Maychem have to push in, or when Reven had to execute on a bomb site. That's where they're playing a little bit better. And while the early round is important, indicated by the entry kills and translating to round wins, they're not everything. And that's what Maychem need to get under wraps right now. And here's the biggest problem. As I said, Reven are 100% conversion rate when it comes to these entry kills, and they've gotten the entry here on map point on Chalet. The opener from draw onto Hosk, that's going to be a problem for Maychem.
And as well for Maychem, once again, to touch up on what Reven have been able to do when they lose those entry engagements, still win these rounds, it's finding trades almost immediately. You can't do that when Hosk is the only person pushing into the building. He is by himself in trophy room, and Draw's got his number. He's looking at the window, saw it was opened up, and is like, all right, go for it. I double dare you to get into the building. And he's immediately shut down. And now for Maychem, they're still looking for roamers in this final minute, and they only now have entered in through Big Garage. This is a huge issue when you've got several nitro cells available to Reven, and also a load of utility that could be used to gather more info and have plant denial.
Let's not forget, we've seen Reven get overly aggressive in situations like this. It's not curtains just yet, John. They still need to stay composed, and that's not something that they've shown us they can do all that well on defense. But right now, look at this. All 5 defenders immobile, just sitting still, holding their corners, holding their angles, and waiting for Maychem to make the first move. As they make that move, however, Navi's will claim the next kill. That'll equalize us and force Wrath into a bad position. Did he not know where Navi's is coming from? Bottom of blue stairs, Navi's gets another kill. Now it is Reven who have to step up. Joe does that by getting 1, but he is quickly traded. Rather, Draw is taken down. 5 seconds, C4 goes out. It connects. The second one, it's too late, and this bomb will just barely have a chance to go down. Sam's got to rotate, and Navi's with a pistol in hand just has the coverage he needed in the nick of time.
Massive round for Navi's as well. The perfectly timed flank coming down blue stairs, which is a position that Reven were trying to hold pretty consistently last time Snowmobile was in play for the defense. So a really solid adjustment there by Maychem to at least try to have more emphasis on that attacking fluidity when pushing into the basement floor bomb site. The only issue for Maychem was just, again, that lack of top floor control. Having Joe still able to play above on that open hatch by dining room, he stopped the plant for a pretty good chunk of time during that execute. And maybe if that C4 was tossed out a little bit faster by Reven, or at least a little bit closer to where that plant was going down, that could have been lights out for Maycam, even with that well-timed flank by Navi's across the map by Blue Stairs. But luckily, they're able to dodge to secondary Nitrocell, and Navi's once again having an incredible position in that basement floor, stops the person by connector, and keeps his team in the fight for the time being. But I believe it was potential timeout called by Reven just to get a bit of breathing room against Maycam, as they do only need one more round to proc overtime. So maybe denying that on their opponent's map pick, I mean, that would be a huge boon for Reven.
Funny enough, I don't actually think it was a timeout. I think there was a disconnect. I think it was a disconnect for Maycam. So Reven have not used their timeout, and they're not going to use it in regulation. Like you said, maybe saving that one for overtime if things go the distance here. But we're seeing our final round of regulation. This one's going all 12 rounds just to determine if Reven can close this one out. Maycam, they've staved off defeat once. Question is, can they do it again? Now, I don't want to highlight any one mistake in that last round for Reven. I'll obviously blame myself for commentator's curse of the classic Reven entry kill 100% conversion rate. That part's on me. But the part that's not on me is a little bit of miscommunication that we saw there from Reven, John. It was Wrath who did not identify where Navi's was coming from. Navi's, who has 15 kills right now, by the way, and was vital in that last round, arguably the sole reason why Maycam were able to survive in that messy finish. But once we saw Navi's get that opener, rather, I guess that transitioning kill into that execute, some reason there were no comms about where he was coming from, whether it was coming from the main stairs or from blue. It's possible he rotated around really fast, but more likely, I think Wrath just didn't know where to look and ended up walking into that.
Ooh, the C4 prepped here by Draw. Here's that melee over on the single barricade, falls away, but the C4, I believe it was destroyed by the frag grenade. It might have caught it mid-blast, perhaps, so no opening kill found by either side as Draw also falls away back into stock. But as that happens, a Selma pops off behind him, so he has to give up that mirror window inside of stock. Once again, the same game plan here for Maycam is paying off so far in the early round, but again, they need to make sure they have the top floor in their complete grasp if they want to go for the same post-plant position they brought out last time this side of bar was in play.
Yeah, remember, last time they did not take sufficient top floor control, and Reven used that to their advantage, eventually storming back and taking it in the post plant. A situation that Maycam need to prevent this time if they want to go to OT. You're seeing Reven getting a little bit more active down below, trying to figure out some of these positions of any drones, any information that Maycam might be getting on the site, because if the right information comes in, Infamy might be able to sneak in the back, maybe walk into bar, catching Reven off guard. For now, though, everyone will remain in position. We hear those air jabs detonating, though, as I think Reven get a little bit active. But right now, under 60 seconds remain and no opening blood just yet.
Still a lot of passivity here between both Maycam and Reven, but with those air jabs going off, that gives a little bit more room on the top floor here for Maycam. It's going to be a huge job for Haas to stay alive and push away these defenders trying to fight back near the hatch.
Wow, Joe, he falls, but Draw, he steps up in a big way. That's two. Make it three, because Wrath will tack on another. Maycam, they need this. Navi's, you've got to make something happen. A kill that could have been his, but will just slip away. Sam takes it. Draw with the shotgun, too. Reven on round 12, the final round of regulation. They will take the win on their opponent's map pick of Chalet.
Major gamble there for Draw to get that aggressive, but it paid off with two massive kills, granting Reven the upper hand and the match win over, or at least map win, pardon. Overall, might be getting a little ahead of myself there, Jonah, but needless to say for Reven, it is a huge boon again, like I mentioned earlier, that they won their opponent's map pick of Chalet,